A flash of lightning tears across a dark sky. The rumble of thunder shakes the very foundations of the earth. An eagle, circling high above the world, its keen eyes missing nothing. And the image of a powerful, bearded king, sitting on a throne of clouds, a crackling bolt of energy held firmly in his hand. These are the symbols of Zeus, the supreme ruler of the Olympian gods, the undisputed king of the cosmos. His name echoes through millennia, a figure of absolute power, divine justice, and legendary scandal. But who was this god who commanded both the heavens and the hearts of mortals? To understand the king, we must first go back to a time before his reign. A time of chaos, fear, and a father who devoured his own children. Our story begins not on the sun-drenched peaks of Mount Olympus, but in the dark, primordial age of the Titans. The mighty Cronus, a god of time and harvest, ruled the universe. He had seized power from his own father, Uranus, and lived in constant fear of a prophecy that one of his own children would one day do the same to him. So, Cronus devised a horrifying solution. As his wife, the Titaness Rhea, gave birth to their divine children, he swallowed each one whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, one by one, they were imprisoned within their own father, their divine light extinguished before it could even shine. Rhea was heartbroken. She couldn't bear to lose another child. When her sixth, and final, son was born, she decided to defy her monstrous husband. She secretly spirited the infant away to the remote island of Crete, hiding him in a deep, dark cave on Mount Ida. To fool the paranoid Cronus, she wrapped a large stone in swaddling clothes and presented it to him. Blinded by his fear, he swallowed the stone without a second thought, believing he had finally secured his throne forever. He had no idea he had just been tricked by the very child destined to overthrow him. That hidden child was Zeus. Raised in secret by nymphs, nourished by the milk of a divine goat named Amalthea, he grew strong and clever, far from his father's tyrannical gaze. The Curetes, armored male dancers, would clash their spears and shields outside the cave, their war cries drowning out the sound of the infant god's cries. As Zeus grew into manhood, his power became undeniable. The time for hiding was over. The prophecy was ready to be fulfilled. Guided by the wise Titaness Mythos, Zeus devised a plan not just to free his siblings, but to end Cronus's reign of terror for good. He disguised himself and served Cronus a special concoction, a mixture of mustard and wine. The potion worked exactly as planned. Cronus became violently ill, and in a great, cosmic retch, he regurgitated his children, now fully grown and powerful gods in their own right. First came the stone, then Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. Reunited at last, the six siblings, with Zeus as their leader, declared war on their father and the old guard of the Titans. This wasn't just a battle, it was the Titanomachy, a cataclysmic, 10-year war that shook the universe to its core. The younger gods, the Olympians, fought from their fortress on Mount Olympus. The elder Titans fought from their stronghold on Mount Unveils. The world trembled as mountains were torn from their roots and hurled as weapons. The war was at a stalemate. Zeus knew he needed more power, more allies. He descended into Tartarus, the deepest pit of the underworld, and freed the Cyclopes, the one-eyed master craftsman, and the Hecatoncheires, the 100-handed giants, who Cronus had long ago imprisoned. In gratitude for their freedom, the Cyclopes forged incredible weapons for the gods. For Hades, a helm of darkness that rendered him invisible. For Poseidon, a mighty trident that could shake the earth and command the seas. And for Zeus, they forged his ultimate weapon, the Thunderbolt. A spear of pure, concentrated lightning, an instrument of unimaginable power. Armed with these new weapons and allies, the tide of the war began to turn. Zeus unleashed the full fury of the heavens. His thunderbolts seared the earth and boiled the seas. The 100-handed giants hurled entire mountains at the Titans, overwhelming them with a barrage of stone and fury. The combined power of the Olympians was simply too much. Cronus and the Titans were defeated, overthrown, and cast down into the eternal prison of Tartarus, guarded forever by their giant allies. The war was over. A new era had begun. With the old order vanquished, the three victorious brothers, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, had to decide how to divide the cosmos. They didn't fight or argue. Instead, they cast lots to ensure a fair and just division of power. Hades, drawing the short straw, became the ruler of the underworld, the grim and shadowy realm of the dead. Poseidon drew the second lot, granting him dominion over the seas, the oceans, and all the waters of the earth. And Zeus, the youngest brother who had freed them all, drew the longest lot. He became the ruler of the sky, the king of all gods, and the supreme sovereign of the new divine order on Mount Olympus. His reign had officially begun. From his golden throne on the highest peak of Olympus, Zeus ruled not as a tyrant like his father, but as a king of law, order, and justice. He was the great arbiter, settling disputes between gods and mortals alike. His word was final. He was the god of the sky in all its forms. The bright, clear blue of a summer day was his blessing. The rain that nourished the crops was his gift. But the terrifying, violent storm was his wrath made manifest. He was a god of duality, a benevolent protector and a fearsome punisher. The eagle was his sacred animal, a living symbol of his power and his ability to see everything from on high. The oak tree was his sacred plant, representing his strength and endurance. These weren't just symbols, they were extensions of his very being. As king, Zeus presided over the divine Olympian family, a group of powerful, passionate, and often dysfunctional deities. His brothers, Poseidon and Hades, ruled their own realms, but still answered to his authority. His sisters were also key figures. Demeter controlled the harvest, Hestia tended the sacred hearth, and his final sister, Hera, became his queen. Their marriage was meant to be the ultimate symbol of divine order and stability. But this union was anything but stable. While Zeus demanded loyalty and order from others, he rarely practiced it himself. His reign on Olympus is as famous for his leadership as it is for his endless, scandalous love affairs. Hera, the goddess of marriage and family, was notoriously proud and fiercely jealous. And Zeus gave her constant reason to be. His infidelities weren't just casual flings. They were epic tales of deception, transformation, and divine drama that shaped the entire mortal world. Zeus was a master of disguise. He knew that appearing as a powerful god would terrify the mortal women he desired, so he would transform himself into all manner of creatures and elements to get close to them. To seduce the Spartan queen leader, he appeared as a magnificent swan. From this strange union, two sets of twins were born from two eggs, the divine Helen of Troy and Polydeuces, and the mortal Clytemnestra and Castor. The face that launched 1,000 ships was, in fact, a daughter of Zeus. He saw the beautiful Phoenician princess Europa and transformed himself into a gentle, white bull with horns of gold. Charmed by the magnificent creature, she climbed onto its back, only for Zeus to charge into the sea and carry her off to the island of Crete. The entire continent of Europe would one day bear her name. For the Princess Danae, who was locked away in a bronze tower by her father, Zeus found a truly creative way in. He transformed himself into a shower of golden rain, pouring through the roof of her prison and fathering one of the greatest Greek heroes of all time, Perseus, the man who would one day slay Medusa. He visited the nymph Callisto disguised as the goddess Artemis, and pursued the nymph Io relentlessly, eventually turning her into a white heifer to hide her from Hera's watchful eyes. The list goes on, a veritable who's who of ancient mythology. These affairs weren't just about lust. They were a way for Zeus to spread his divine lineage throughout the mortal world. Many of Greece's greatest heroes were his demigod children, including the mighty Heracles, born from his affair with the mortal woman Alcmene. But every affair brought with it the inevitable, terrifying wrath of Hera. She didn't dare punish Zeus directly, he was far too powerful. So instead, she directed her fury at his lovers and their children. She sent a gadfly to torment Io the heifer for eternity, and dispatched a giant serpent to prevent the birth of Apollo and Artemis. Her persecution of Heracles is legendary, a lifelong campaign of torment that forced him to undertake his famous 12 labors. Hera's jealousy became a driving force in countless myths, a constant, simmering conflict at the very heart of the Olympian court. The marriage of the king and queen of the gods was a tempestuous storm of passion, betrayal, and revenge. Yet, despite his chaotic personal life, Zeus was also known as Zeus Xenios, the protector of guests and travelers. The ancient Greek concept of xenia, or hospitality, was a sacred trust. To harm a guest or refuse a stranger shelter was a direct insult to the king of the gods himself. He was the ultimate enforcer of this sacred social contract. Those who honored their guests were rewarded, but those who violated the laws of hospitality would face his swift and terrible judgment. Zeus was also the keeper of oaths. When a mortal or a god swore a solemn oath, they swore it by the name of Zeus. To break such a promise was to invite his divine retribution, a punishment from which there was no escape. He held the scales of justice, weighing the fates of men in battle. In the Trojan War, he watched from on high, at times intervening, but ultimately allowing destiny to run its course. He was not above fate, but he was its most powerful administrator. His power was absolute, but it was not without challenge. The most famous story of defiance against Zeus comes not from a mortal king or a rival god, but from a titan who dared to love humanity too much, Prometheus. Prometheus saw that mankind was weak, living in cold and darkness. Against Zeus's explicit command, he stole fire from the heavens and gave it to mortals. This single act of rebellion changed the course of human history, giving him the tools for craft, warmth, and civilization. Zeus was enraged. This wasn't just theft, it was a fundamental disruption of the cosmic order he had established. His punishment for Prometheus was one of the most gruesome in all of mythology. He had the Titan chained to a rock in the Caucasus Mountains. Every single day, a great eagle, Zeus's own sacred bird, would fly down and eat Prometheus's liver. And every night, the liver would grow back, forcing him to endure the same agonizing torture for eternity. But Zeus's punishment wasn't just for Prometheus. He also sought to punish mankind for accepting the stolen gift of fire. And so, he commissioned the creation of the first woman, Pandora. She was crafted to be beautiful and alluring, and each of the gods gave her a gift. But Hermes gave her a cunning, deceitful heart. Zeus presented her to mankind along with a sealed jar, or box, warning her never to open it. Of course, driven by the curiosity the gods had given her, Pandora opened the box. From it flew all the evils of the world: sickness, death, envy, greed, and despair. They spread across the earth, plaguing humanity forever. Only one thing remained trapped inside: hope. This was the nature of Zeus's justice. It could be severe, absolute, and sometimes, it could seem cruel. He was not a god of gentle forgiveness. He was a god of order, and those who upset that order paid a terrible price. Perhaps the most extreme example of his wrath is the story of King Lycaon of Arcadia. To test whether Zeus was truly all-knowing, Lycaon committed the ultimate violation of hospitality. He murdered his own son and tried to serve him to Zeus as a meal. Disgusted by this horrific act, Zeus's rage knew no bounds. He transformed the wicked king into the first werewolf, a creature cursed to hunger for human flesh. But his anger was not just for Lycaon, it was for all of humanity, which he now saw as corrupt and beyond saving. He decided to wipe the slate clean. He resolved to destroy the world with a great flood, a deluge that would wash away the wickedness of mankind and allow for a new, purer beginning. He unleashed torrential rains that fell for days on end, until the entire earth was covered in water. Only two pious mortals, Deucalion and his wife Hera, were warned of the coming disaster. They built an ark and survived the flood, eventually repopulating the earth by casting stones over their shoulders, which transformed into a new race of men and women. These stories paint a picture of a complex and often contradictory deity. He is the upholder of justice, but his own actions are often unjust. He demands fidelity but is the greatest philanderer of all. He is a protector of mankind, but is also their greatest threat. He is not a simple hero or villain. He is the embodiment of power itself, in all its creative and destructive forms. He is the order that holds the cosmos together, but also the chaos that threatens to tear it apart. He is both the clear sky and the raging storm. The influence of Zeus did not end with the decline of ancient Greece. When the Roman Empire rose to prominence, they adopted much of the Greek pantheon, but gave the gods new names. Zeus became Jupiter, or Jove, retaining his role as the king of the gods, the god of sky and thunder. The Romans saw Jupiter as the divine protector of their state, the source of their power and authority. His temple on the Capitoline Hill was the most important religious site in all of Rome. The greatest military triumphs ended with a procession to honor him. Through the Romans, the legacy of Zeus spread across the entire Western world. His name and stories were preserved in the epic poetry of Homer and Hesiod, in the plays of the great tragedians, and in the art that has captivated us for centuries. Even today, his presence is all around us. The largest planet in our solar system is named Jupiter in his honor. The eagle remains a potent symbol of power and freedom, used by nations and empires throughout history. The Thunderbolt is a universal icon of energy and might. He appears in countless books, movies, and video games, sometimes as a wise and benevolent father figure, other times as a wrathful, tyrannical villain. Each interpretation captures a different facet of his incredibly complex personality. He is the archetypal king, the patriarch, the sky father, a figure whose stories explore the timeless themes of power, justice, family, love, and betrayal. He is a reflection of humanity's own best and worst impulses, writ large across the heavens. So when you next see a flash of lightning, or hear the distant rumble of thunder, remember the king of Olympus. Remember the baby hidden in a cave, the warrior who defeated the Titans, the judge who weighed the fates of mortals, and the lover who filled the world with heroes and monsters. Remember Zeus, the flawed, fearsome, and forever fascinating king of the gods. A figure of immense power, whose stories are as eternal as the sky he ruled.